Privilege is loud, until justice speaks louder. Before the world saw headlines, before federal agents walked into a courtroom, before the truth stained a powerful family name, there was just a girl. Her name, Vivienne Langston. Age 21, daughter of Senator Charles Langston, a man whose smile could win votes, whose money could silence scandals, and whose family had never known the word no. Vivienne never lived in her father's shadow. She believed she was the shadow. She believed she was untouchable. But arrogance has a funny way of dragging you exactly where you don't want to be. And on one reckless night, Vivienne's belief in her own invincibility collided with the real world. It started on a Friday night. Downtown, private rooftop party, exclusive invite list, lavish decor, drinks flowing, music pulsing through expensive speakers. Vivienne arrived in a custom white convertible. Remember the type. The kind of car you don't drive, unless you want to be seen. She wasn't drunk. She wasn't stumbling. She wasn't confused. She was angry. Angry at a friend who didn't reply to her texts. Angry at a bartender who didn't recognize her name. Angry at a world that dared to treat her like everyone else. At 11:47 p.m., a city street camera caught Vivienne speeding through a pedestrian crossing at nearly double the legal limit. A homeless man jumped back just in time. A cyclist dropped their bike. A mother pulled her child away from the curb by inches. No brakes, no pause, no remorse. She laughed, giggled, phone in hand, taking selfies of her adrenaline rush. But what Vivienne didn't know was that another camera captured everything. Body cam, Officer Reyes, responding to reckless endangerment. He pulled her over 3 blocks later. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle. Do you know who I am? Step out, please." "Oh my God. My father is Senator Charles Langston. Call your chief. He'll fix this." "Ma'am, I'm asking you to exit the vehicle." She stepped out, but not because she respected him. She stepped out because she wanted to intimidate him. "My father can buy this whole department." Officer Reyes didn't budge. He did what she didn't expect. He arrested her. Handcuffs click. Vivienne screams. "This is illegal. Do you know who you're messing with?" Her screams echoed down the street. She was booked, photographed, fingerprinted. Her designer blazer was replaced by a beige holding cell blanket. And for the first time in her life, Vivienne tasted the consequences. But she still had one belief. Daddy will fix this. She spent one night in holding, not long enough to break her, but long enough to bruise her ego. Monday morning, courtroom 3A. A place where the title Senator's Daughter holds no value. The judge on the bench, Judge Naomi Caldwell, black, brilliant, stoic, a woman who fought her way into the justice system, not through wealth, but through excellence. She didn't entertain tantrums. She didn't bow to power. Her record showed discipline, integrity, unshakable calm. And when Vivienne Langston walked into her courtroom, chin high, phone in hand, ego blazing, Judge Caldwell already knew she was dealing with trouble. Vivienne strides in wearing a designer pantsuit, hair perfectly pinned, makeup flawless, eyes cold. Her attorney, Mr. Dustin Wright, follows behind her, sweating, nervous. He knows exactly whose courtroom they're in. "Vivienne, be respectful. Judge Caldwell does not tolerate." "I don't tolerate disrespect either." She smiled at her own arrogance. "Ms. Langston, you are charged with reckless endangerment, excessive speeding, and fleeing an officer. How do you plead?" Vivienne glances at her attorney. "Not guilty." Judge Caldwell lifts an eyebrow. Not in surprise. In warning. And then, she made the mistake that would change her life. As the judge reviewed the dashcam footage, Vivienne leaned toward her attorney and whispered, loudly, "This is ridiculous. My father can buy her." Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Judge Caldwell stops reading, lifts her eyes, states, "Silence." A silence that weighs more than any yell. "Repeat that, Ms. Langston." Vivienne hesitates. For the first time, fear flickers in her eyes. But pride wins. She repeats it. The courtroom froze. The prosecutor's jaw dropped. The bailiff took a half-step forward. Even Vivienne's own attorney turned pale. Judge Caldwell didn't raise her voice, didn't slam a gavel, didn't break my composure. She simply reached under her bench and pressed a button. Audio recording from overhead speaker, record activated. Vivienne's eyes widened. "Ms. Langston, I am opening an official misconduct hearing. Your words have been documented. Going forward, every statement you make will be part of the public record." And then she did something Vivienne didn't expect. "Bailiff, summon the federal liaison from the Office of Judicial Oversight." Why? Because whenever a senator's child accuses a judge of corruption, federal oversight must be notified. And that's how a private hearing turned into a federal case. The courtroom doors burst open. A tall, suited man storms in, face stern, eyes furious. Senator Charles Langston. He marches straight to his daughter. "Vivienne, what have you done?" "Daddy." Senator holds up a hand. Silence. He turns to the judge. "Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. My daughter was." Judge Caldwell interrupts him. "Take a seat, Senator. You are not recognized." Gasps. The senator is stunned. He sits. Judge Caldwell lifts a thick folder, labeled, "Confidential," marked in red ink, "Langston." She places it on the podium. "Your daughter's actions have triggered a review of this file. This is being unsealed." Vivienne's face drains of color. Senator Langston stands abruptly. "That file is sealed by order." Judge Caldwell slams the gavel. "Sit down, Senator, or I hold you in contempt." Silence. Absolute silence. And as the judge prepares to unseal a file that could destroy a political dynasty, the courtroom waits. Records. Evidence. Secrets. Vivienne Langston thought her father could buy justice. But the truth. The judge had just purchased time. Time to expose everything. Federal oversight. Not just state-level inquiry. Federal. One of them, the lead liaison, steps forward. His outline is calm, confident. He places a small device on the bench. The federal liaison speaks, voice calm but authoritative. "For the record, this meeting is now monitored by the Office of Judicial Oversight." The device begins recording with a soft tone. Vivienne's attorney whispers, panicked, "Vivienne, from this moment on, do not speak. Anything you say will be used." Vivienne, rigid, furious, looks straight ahead. Senator Langston tried to steady his breathing. But the truth? He was rattled. He had built his career on control, controlling narratives, controlling scandals, controlling people. And this? A courtroom with federal oversight and a black female judge who refused to bow to his political weight? This was his nightmare. Judge Caldwell lifts the file slightly, but doesn't open it yet. "Judge Caldwell, before I unseal this document, I want to clarify the legal grounds. Your daughter's claim of bribery implicates a sitting judge. Per federal regulation, this cannot be ignored. Additionally, the reckless endangerment charges are the least of the issues presently before the court." Vivienne stiffens. Her father shoots her a sharp glare. "Senator Langston, Your Honor, my daughter did not mean." Judge Caldwell cuts him off, her tone polite but unyielding. "Senator, your daughter's intent is irrelevant. Her statement is now part of the official record." Power didn't impress Judge Caldwell. Accountability did. Judge Caldwell flips the first page. Subject: Senator Charles Langston, pattern of judicial interference. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Vivienne's attorney actually drops his pen. Senator Langston's jaw clenches so tight the tendons in his neck tighten. He stands abruptly. "Senator, this is outrageous. That file was sealed. Judge Caldwell, and it is being unsealed under lawful federal authority." The federal liaison steps forward. Federal liaison: Senator Langston, this file contains evidence of at least 3 attempts to influence judicial decisions over the past 6 years. The Oversight Committee reviewed the material last month. It is now relevant to today's inquiry. The senator's face was drained of color. Vivienne stared at him, suddenly unsure if he could fix this after all. Before this moment, the courtroom feared the senator. Now, they feared the truth. "We will proceed with the formal reading of the contents. Mr. Wright," she said, addressing Vivienne's attorney, "you will advise your client to remain silent unless questioned." Mr. Wright nods, defeated. Vivienne opens her mouth and closes it again. Judge Caldwell gestures to the bailiff. "Play the traffic stop." The large courtroom monitor flickers to life. The room darkens slightly. The footage plays, silent, faceless silhouettes, headlights illuminating Vivienne's white convertible as it speeds through a crosswalk. Silence made it worse. Without sound, the images spoke louder. The cyclist jumps back. A mother yanks her child. The homeless man slams against a trash bin. Vivienne flinches as she watches. For the first time, shame crosses her face. The footage switches to Officer Reyes' body cam, Vivienne laughing, carefree, hair whipping in the wind. Vivienne, from footage: "Oh relax, officer. My father can buy you." The room gasps. The senator grimaced. He couldn't fix this with signature smiles or campaign money. This was evidence. This was accountability. Judge Caldwell turns the page. Her voice remains calm, but the courtroom feels the shift. "Vivienne Langston, you are also accused of attempting to leave the scene. Officer Reyes' report states that you tried to flee while detained." Vivienne's attorney shakes his head violently. "Your Honor," she panicked. "She didn't." Judge Caldwell slams her gavel. One firm strike. "Mr. Wright, do not attempt to minimize her actions. The footage speaks for itself." Senator Langston stands again. "Your Honor, may I speak privately with you?" Judge Caldwell answers without hesitation. "No, you may not." That was the moment a political dynasty cracked. The senator's face contorts, a mix of rage, disbelief, and creeping fear. "The committee has authorized us to disclose that your daughter's case is now connected to a larger pattern of obstruction. This hearing will determine whether full investigative procedures will begin." Vivienne whispers to her attorney, "What does that mean?" Wright whispers back, "It means they're investigating your father." Vivienne's eyes widened. Judge Caldwell flips to another section of the file. "Additionally, we have documented evidence linking a financial transaction between your father's campaign fund and an undisclosed third party believed to influence judicial candidates." Senator Langston's composure cracks. "That is a confidential campaign strategy. That is corruption." Vivienne suddenly stands, fury exploding. "You can't do this. My father." Judge Caldwell raises her hand. "Ms. Langston, sit down." Vivienne refuses, her voice shaking with anger and fear. "No, this is unfair. You're doing this because you're..." Silence. The air thickens. Every person in the courtroom knows what she was about to say. Judge Caldwell's tone turns icy. "Finish that sentence, Ms. Langston." Vivienne swallows her words. But the silence says everything. "Bailiff, escort Ms. Langston back to her seat." The bailiff steps forward. Vivienne sits down quickly, trembling. It was the first time in her life she truly felt small. Judge Caldwell lifts another page. Everyone leans forward. Item 47. Testimony regarding the disappearance of. She stops. Look up. The federal liaison nods for confirmation. Judge Caldwell continues. A missing juvenile linked to Senator Langston's former campaign advisor. The courtroom explodes in whispers. Vivienne gasps. Senator Langston slams his fists on the table. Stop. Stop immediately. That file is sealed for good, REA. And we are legally unsealing it. And as the judge prepared to read the testimony aloud, the courtroom doors swung open. A uniformed officer rushed in. Your Honor, you need to see this. Immediately. Judge Caldwell's eyes narrow. She stands. When the officer stepped through those courtroom doors, the air died. Every movement froze. And every truth Judge Caldwell thought she understood, shifted. The officer stops beside the bench and leans in. He hands Judge Caldwell a tablet. Your Honor, this just came to our department from federal headquarters. They said it's urgent and connected to the file you're unsealing. Judge Caldwell's eyes drop to the screen. Her jaw tightens. In that moment, she saw something that shattered the distance between past and present. The monitor on the courtroom wall flicks to life. The image is blurred, grainy, night vision green-tinted. A small figure, a child, tied to a chair. Not a reenactment. Not a dramatization. A real recording. A file that had been buried for 6 years, and now resurfaced. A distorted voice in the video growls, "That senator better pay, or the kid disappears forever." Vivienne's scream pierces the silence. Her hands fly to her mouth. Her father lunges from his seat. "Turn that off. Turn it off now." The judge's voice slices through his panic. "Officer, mute the playback, but do not turn it off." In every courtroom, there are two types of people. Those who lose control, and those who control the loss. Vivienne hyperventilates. Mr. Wright frantically flips through his briefcase, looking for anything to stop the meltdown. The senator slams his fist into the table. "That is fabricated. That footage is fake. You hear me? Fake." Judge Caldwell's stare holds steady. "Senator Langston, sit down. You are dangerously close to obstruction." And for the first time, the senator sits. Judge Caldwell lifts the confidential file again. She reads slowly, methodically. Item 47. Testimony identifies the juvenile as a 15-year-old named Deshaun Miller, last seen alive in the company of former campaign advisor Mitchell Granger. A ripple shoots through the courtroom. Federal liaison steps forward. "Your Honor, our intelligence suggests the same advisor was on the senator's payroll, off record." Vivienne looks at her father, horrified. Vivienne, whispering, "Dad, what did you do?" He doesn't answer. A politician built on polished speeches couldn't speak. She turns another page. The file further reports that substantial campaign funds, unaccounted for, were withdrawn in cash within 48 hours of the boy's disappearance. Vivienne's attorney stands abruptly. "Your Honor, this has nothing to do with the reckless endangerment case. This is..." Judge Caldwell raises one finger. "Stop. Your client made this personal when she accused me of corruption. That accusation triggered federal involvement. This file is now part of judicial review. When privilege becomes arrogance, consequences multiply." Senator Langston lunges forward. "Those funds were ransom money. I was trying to save that boy." The room explodes. Bailiff moves instantly, blocking him. "You paid ransom, illegally, and never reported the abduction? They told me he'd die if I spoke to anyone. I thought I could fix it quietly. And there it was. The truth no one expected. A secret buried by fear and pride. Senator, you authorized unauthorized payments to Mitchell Granger, the same man suspected of kidnapping the juvenile. making you complicit. The senator's face collapses. Vivienne buries hers in her hands, trembling. Vivienne stands, eyes wild. So this is why you never let me talk to him. This is why you kept me out of the campaign. You destroyed us. Her voice cracks into a sob. Ms. Langston, sit down. Vivienne sits. Her shoulders were shaking. Judge Caldwell adjusts her robe. Her voice becomes measured, gravely serious. We are adjourning for today. This matter has escalated beyond the scope of this court. Federal authorities will take possession of the file and initiate a full investigation into the disappearance of Deshaun Miller. The senator collapses into his seat. Broken. Defeated. Humans. Vivienne stares straight ahead. A girl who thought her father's power made her untouchable, now watching that power crumble. The bailiff approaches Judge Caldwell. Your Honor, we need to talk. Privately. It's about the boy. Judge Caldwell's eyes sharpen. She nods and steps into chambers. The door closes behind her. The bailiff hands her a sealed envelope marked urgent. Judge Caldwell opens it. Inside is a single photo. A grainy surveillance still. A photo taken last month. The boy, Deshaun Miller, older, worn, terrified, is alive. Judge Caldwell's breath catches. And behind the boy in the photo, a faceless silhouette. Tall, dark, standing in a doorway. Someone had been watching the senator's secret all this time. Judge Caldwell whispers, "Dear God, this goes deeper than any of us knew." And while the courtroom prepared for an investigation, a child long thought dead was still out there. When Judge Naomi Caldwell held that photo in her hand, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Fear. Not for herself, but for a child who had been missing for 6 years, and who was still alive. The judge's fingers tighten around the photo. Her breath catches. She whispers, "Where are you, Deshaun?" Judge Caldwell emerges from chambers, her posture rigid. Federal liaison approaches her, tone low and urgent. "Your Honor, there's more." The photo was sent from an anonymous, encrypted source. It came directly to the Oversight Office. Anonymous? Not quite. Look closer at the timestamp. The judge turns the photo over. A date and timestamp reads, 2 weeks ago. Judge Caldwell's eyes widened. The boy wasn't just alive. He was near. He was recent. The camera pans across the courtroom. Senator Langston sits with his head in his hands. He looks older, smaller, defeated. Vivienne sits beside him, expression empty, the arrogance drained, replaced with shock and confusion. Vivienne whispers to her father, "Dad, did you know he was still alive?" The senator's voice cracks. I thought they killed him. After I paid the ransom, they disappeared. I never heard anything. I tried to bury it. For your sake." Vivienne recoils, as if the words physically strike her. "For my sake? You buried a boy's life. For me?" Tears streamed down her face. Judge Caldwell steps back into the courtroom, holding the photo behind a folded folder. Her tone is controlled, but her eyes burn with purpose. "We are reconvening briefly. The court has received evidence that the missing juvenile, Deshaun Miller, is alive. A federal emergency alert is being issued." Gasps echo through the courtroom. Mr. Wright, Vivienne's attorney, staggers. "Alive? That's impossible." Judge Caldwell cuts him off sharply. "Nothing is impossible. Not anymore." Federal liaison steps forward, placing a sealed document on the judge's bench. "Your Honor, federal guidance instructs that all of Senator Langston's records, digital, financial, and personal, are to be seized immediately. This includes his campaign servers, home computers, and private security files." Senator Langston springs to his feet. "You have no right." The liaison lifts a hand calmly. "We have every right." Judge Caldwell nods. "Execute the order." The bailiff signals federal agents waiting in the hall. They move swiftly, faceless shadows with purpose. Senator Langston rushes toward the bench, desperation dripping from his voice. "Your Honor, please. If that boy is alive, if they still have him, then you must understand. They will come after anyone who looks into this." Judge Caldwell's tone is steel. "Senator, the time for fear was 6 years ago. Today, we face the truth." And in that moment, the senator realized that the truth was the one currency he no longer controlled. Sudden noise outside the courtroom doors. Reporters shouting. Camera flashes lighting the hallway. The bailiff rushes to close the doors. "Your Honor, the press has already leaked the abduction video." Judge Caldwell stiffens. Someone inside this building is feeding information to the media. Vivienne's voice trembles. "That means we're not safe." Judge Caldwell's gaze darts to the security camera in the corner. Her voice drops. "Everyone in this courtroom is now in danger." The judge lays the confidential file on the bench again. Her hand hovers over a page with a handwritten note. "Mitchell Granger, associate of Senator Langston. Known to have ties to organized crime and child trafficking networks." Mitchell Granger. A name that had disappeared from police files for years. A ghost. Judge Caldwell whispers under her breath. If Granger is alive, Deshawn might be trapped in his world. The federal liaison stiffens. "Granger is alive, Your Honor. And we believe he's the one who sent the photo." Judge Caldwell's eyes widened. "Why?" "To bring the senator down." Judge Caldwell turns to the bailiff. "Get Ms. Langston and her father into protective custody immediately. Their lives are at risk. And no one leaves this courthouse until the building is secured." The bailiff nods and begins ushering the senator and Vivienne toward a secure chamber. Vivienne looks terrified. She whispers, "Why would he come after me?" Judge Caldwell glances at her. "Because your father paid a ransom once. And people who pay can be forced to pay again." Vivienne trembles violently. Senator Langston's eyes burn with regret. Judge Caldwell examines the photo again. Zooms in. Sometimes, the truth hides in the margins. A small detail catches her eye. On the wall behind the boy, an exit sign. Not a home. Not a basement. A facility. Judge Caldwell whispers. "He's in an old warehouse." Federal liaison nods gravely. "Our analysts traced it. We believe it's the abandoned industrial district near the old docks. Granger used to operate there." Judge Caldwell straightens. "Then we go now." The liaison pauses. "Your Honor, that area is dangerous." Judge Caldwell's voice is cold, determined. "A boy's life is worth danger." And with that, a judge left her bench to chase the truth. As Judge Caldwell steps out, the courtroom lights flicker. The bailiff looks up. "That's strange. The power." Lights go out. Screams echo. The generator kicks in, flickering red emergency lights. The courtroom camera shows a static-filled frame. A voice, distorted, deep, echoes from the speakers. "You opened the file. Now I open the door." Shock floods the room. And the man behind the shadow had just entered the game. The truth is closer than anyone knows. And someone is coming for the person who dared to unseal it.